Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be building up and painting hand speeder from Revell. This is kit number 06769. It comes complete with lights and sounds and designed for little kids. So it should be very easy to put together, and it also explains why the parts come pre-coloured. But for me that's going to look too toy-like, so I'm going to make a few changes. So we have an exploded diagram to show you how straightforward it is to put together. If you scan the QR code, it will take you to a website where you can purchase more Star Wars model kits. So let's break the seal and see what's inside. I can tell you right now what's not included, and that's the sticker sheet. But because I don't want this to look like a toy, I don't mind missing the stickers, especially since I'm going to repaint it anyway. So we have the instruction booklet which tells us how to assemble this thing, and as I mentioned earlier, 6-year-olds are supposed to be able to do this, so I should have no trouble. Should. Next I need to take everything out of its packaging and see what I have to work with. We have quite a few parts and they all need prepping before I start to assemble them. And first up is Han Solo. He just needs his arm plugging in and then he's good to go. They are preset to one pose, but I don't see there's any need to change that. I just need to attach a couple of pieces to the underside of the speeder. When opened, this creates a stand so it looks like the speeder is hovering. And I need these in place for when I start repainting it. But first I need to sand all the blue parts, and this will rough up the surface and give the paint something to adhere to, and then I can spray prime everything. I'm going to put this to one side for now and pay some attention to Han Solo. Just because he's pre-painted doesn't mean that he doesn't need any painting. Even though I'm not striving for movie accuracy, I still need some additional details. So I painted the belt, the pouches and the shoes in a dark brown. Then I added some silver on the buttons and the buckle, and then I finish him off with just a couple of washes, starting off with a flesh colour to add some shade to his skin, and then I covered his clothing in a brown wash, and this made a big difference in helping to make the character look more realistic. I'm making a few changes to the kit anyway, so I want this character to look more generic and not necessarily like Han Solo. Next I apply a cream colour to the padding of the chairs, and on top of that I add a brown panel liner, and this will seep into all the cracks. This is the cockpit area. There's very little detail on here, so I only gave it a light dry brush since it will be hard to see. Instead of blue like in the movie, I decided to go for a rusty red, and instead of repainting all the silver bits, I decided to cover them in a black wash, then dry brush silver highlights on top of them. This saved me a lot of time and is just effective as a full paint job, because the silver grey plastic acts as a mid-tone. To help create some points of interest, I added on a few splashes of colour here and there, the occasional brass component or some black for the levers, and with that done I can crack on with the assembly. First to be pushed into place is the driver's area, then I can push in the clay pieces into the thrusters. I didn't need to use any glue for this kit, as this is basically a snap kit. The only downfall to this, there will be some occasional gaps between each part. This is the piece with the light and sound in them, so I just need to pull out the battery tab and figure out how it works. I eventually found the on-off button on the centre control panel. So at least the batteries work, but more on that towards the end of the video. So I'll leave this piece now ready to be pushed into place. Some of these items need a really good push so they don't fall out. Next there's a rear grille, and then there's part of the mechanics which sticks out on the right hand side. So it's time to close it off and add the top piece. And now I can get a sense that this new colour scheme is working quite well. After that there's a couple of rectangle parts for the rear. And for these I noticed there's a tab at the bottom which needs to go in first. And for the left hand side, part of the jet needs to be assembled and then pushed into place along the long strip. And then it needs to be pushed into place with quite a bit of force. Now I decided to add a little bit of detail to the dashboard. There are screen, buttons and switches, so use a combination of blue, red, silver and green to mark out each individual item. That's looking the part now and can be pushed into place. This actually pushes into the slot on the centre column. I need to make sure I leave an even gap around the edges. This is so that the windscreen can fit in later. And now it's time to assemble the front grille. I left the black outer piece unpainted. It's a little too shiny compared to the rest of the vehicle, but that will be done down later once I add the weathering. And now it's time to concentrate on the interior of the cab, starting off with the steering wheel. And while I'm at it, I added the engine block to the front before going ahead and pushing the seats into place. The driver's seat goes on the left hand side because you've got a little hole in it for the figure to push in place, and I inserted the figure off camera as it was quite a fiddly process. And speaking of fiddly process, this rear spoiler slots into place in two places, one underneath and one on top, and it took quite a bit of wiggling to get it to fit. And now it's time to add some additional details, starting off with some black panel liner, and this helped to add some depth in between the panels. I wasn't bothered about any overspills for this, as I wiped them off in a straight line with a tissue, and this helped to sell the illusion that this thing travels at speed. Using a tatty old brush and a little bit of silver paint, I added a few chips here and there to help sell the illusion that this is actually metal, and I kept this fairly subtle as I didn't want the vehicle to be too old. And now it's time for the weathering powders. And again I brush it in a straight line going from front to back to create the illusion that all the damage is caused by speed. And I use different colours to create different types of dirt and grime. And black works very well for the soot on the thrusters. I wanted the window to look dirty too, so I gave it a brown wash and made it look like it's been cleaned in the middle by the driver. And whenever you use weathering powder, you must seal it in so it doesn't come off. And once that's dried, I can push the windscreen into place, because if you use seal on clear plastic, it can fog it up. And there we have it, the completed speeder from the Solo Star Wars movie. In the movie this vehicle was primarily blue, so it's nice to do something a little bit different with it. And for me personally, I think this colour looks better as it's a lot less flashy. As I mentioned earlier, this is a light and sound kit. There are two different sound effects and both are similar, but one is just shorter than the other. So let's press the button and have a listen to the longer one. If you would like to see some more Star Wars kits from this range, let me know in the comment below, as I have a couple in stock. Thank you for watching. Don't forget, if I can do it, so can you.